Hello, this is Caitlin Manning, and I'm doing my second book review today. For this review, I chose to do Lincoln's Melancholy. It is by Joshua Wolf Schenck, and it was published in 2005. So, a quick summary of this book is, I think a good summary is right here in this first sentence: how depression challenged a president and fueled his greatness. So this book is broken into three parts, and it seems to be the first part is when he is younger and not as sure about his life, and the second part is him getting more sure, and then it just continues on into the third part. But this book, back in that time, it was called Melancholy. But what it was is Lincoln was struggling with depression through many stages of his life, and it just fueled the kind of person he was. So in the first part of the book, he decided that he didn't even know if he was going to live because of his depression. But towards the middle and end of the book, he decided that he was going to let these feelings, he wanted to live for something awesome and to live for something productive. And yes, I did. I read this entire book from cover to cover, every word on every page. And overall, I really liked the book. I chose this book because I've always liked Abraham Lincoln, and I've been fascinated by his life and by all the things he was able to accomplish within his life. And before I read this book, I had no idea that he struggled with depression. And at that time, they weren't even able to really call it depression because they didn't think that was a thing back then. So they called it melancholy. And it was amazing to me. I just thought that he was just that much greater of a person by seeing how he had all of these mental blockages, and he still went forth to do something awesome. And I would definitely recommend this book to anybody as a good read because Lincoln plays such a huge role in our history, and he just did a lot for our country. And I would recommend it to even people who weren't into history because it was a very good read, and it was very fluid. In the first part, it was hard because it mentioned a lot of different people, and sometimes it was hard to follow, but overall it was a very good read. And it just gave a lot of backstory on Abraham Lincoln that I did not know before. So yes, I would recommend, and the reading was very easy. So I didn't really dislike anything about the book. I thought that it was very well written, very thought through, and it just was an awesome story about Lincoln. So as I was thinking about how I could build a lesson around this book, there was several different ways I could go with it. I was thinking first, I learned this from the book, that Lincoln actually came from a lineage of mental illness. A lot of his family members before and after him struggled with depression and anxiety and lots of mental illnesses. And I thought that was really interesting. But as I was thinking of different ways I could go to build a lesson with the book, I was thinking I could go and do a character education lesson and tie it into history. But I think that the best lesson would be to just drop little bits of character ed throughout the lesson. So I would engage the students by telling them anonymously of some of the good things that Lincoln did. I would just pop something up on the board that he did good in his lifetime, and I would make them guess who the person was that accomplished all of these things. And to engage them, I would just let them have discussions about it, get their curiosity going, and then after they've discussed it for a while, we would do a brief discussion about Lincoln and some of the things that he did. And I'll ask them if they knew of anything about Lincoln before, and tell them that we are going to talk about Lincoln and a big issue that he really helped improve, which is slavery. So I would move into the slavery portion of the lesson and use lots of technology to build their background knowledge on slavery, because some students, especially in elementary, probably have never heard of slavery. So I would really let technology help me to build their background knowledge about slavery. And then we would tie slavery to what Lincoln did with slavery, tie those two together, and help students realize how big of a deal he was. And after we would discuss this and do some kind of assignments, maybe some role plays, I'm not sure exactly, but something hands-on, we would transition into the wrapping up the lesson, and I would let them write a letter to Lincoln and write questions to Honest Abe, because that was his nickname. And so in the letter, they could just ask him any questions, ask him just whatever, and it would kind of be their exit slip. So that's kind of my thoughts on Lincoln's Melancholy. I really enjoyed this book, and I would recommend, and I think that Abraham Lincoln played a huge role in our history of the United States, and I really enjoyed this read. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.